Alright everyone, we just heard a dialogue, now let's talk about it. This dialogue is about a tourist that wants to find a museum in a new city. So they ask a local person with help for directions. The local person gives them good directions and also tells them some famous places to look out for on the way there. This way the tourist can enjoy their trip and even more when traveling, and the local person enjoys sharing information about their city. Now let's talk about some key phrases, and let me explain these key phrases and words to you. Let us start with giving directions. When they say, go to the corner of Jikji Street and Hyungdeok Street, they are talking about the area where these two streets meet. When two streets meet, they usually make four corners. In this case, they are talking about the corner that you arrive on. Next, let me tell you about turn left at the corner. When you get to that corner, you will immediately take a left. Next up is, it's down the street from the city center. This means when you're walking, it is on the same street as the city center, but you keep walking away from the city center. Finally, when the speaker says, between the drugstore and the police station, they are talking about the museum being in the middle of these two businesses. Now, let's talk about the tourist activities. The first one, I have to make sure and take some pictures. Now this means that the person will have to take some time and take pictures with their camera of all the places that the local person mentioned in the dialogue. Next up, it is good luck to rub the pig's nose. Sometimes in cultures, it is good luck if you touch a well-known statue of something. Many people think if you rub a part of the statue, you receive good luck that day. So many people rub statues to get this luck. Most statues, it is good luck to rub the nose for some reason. Now, let's talk about some of the key words. The first key word is city center. A city center is a place that is in the heart or middle of the city. It can be a building, such as a city hall, a group of buildings, or something historical or notable. Most people in Cheongju say that the city center is Sinae, or downtown. This is near the city hall and has many places to eat and go shopping. The last word we'll talk about is the word landmark. This is a building or place that is not like any other building or place around it. A good example of a landmark in Cheongju would be CBNU. There are no other buildings or places around the university that look anything like it. Now let's move on to the next part. Talk about some culture tips. When asking directions when traveling, it is always best to have a map with you of the area you are visiting. That way, when you ask someone for directions on how to get someplace, you can take out their map and they can show you where you are in relation to where you want to go. Also, having a map of a place is good for local people to show you where good places to eat or shop are located. Finally, a map is a great souvenir for you to take back home and remember all the places you saw on your trip. Alright everyone, we just heard a dialogue, now let's talk about it. This dialogue is about what someone should put on their resume. They go over the important aspects of what to put on a resume, such as education, previous employment, and other skills. This conversation has some valuable information in it since it helps the speaker understand how to make a resume with the hope they could secure a job with a well-done resume. Alright, let me explain these key phrases to you. Let us start out with the key info for the resume part. The first one is, I listed my education first. This means that when you write out your resume, The first thing you should do is list your education. When you list the education, then list the most important recently completed school or the one you are currently attending. So for you guys, that would be CBNU. The next one is, but when you list your past jobs, be sure to list your current job first. This is similar to the education phrase, but it is talking about your jobs or employment. You should try and list any and all jobs on your resume as well, even unpaid ones. The last one we will talk about is, some people put their skills or interests. This means that you should put any skills on your resume whatsoever. Skills vary from person to person, such as being a personable person, someone good with computers, or anything else a company might be interested in. Also, any interests you might have will look good to a company. But pick good or positive interests such as playing soccer with friends or learning new things. This shows you work well in groups or you are always trying to better yourself. Next, we will look at the resume details section. The first one is, I also put down any classes I took. This means that any classes that you took outside of your normal university schedule. Maybe a class or training at an outside school, such as a computer hagwon. This will show a company that you're willing to improve your skills at something you are weak at. The second one is, also be sure to put any volunteer jobs on there as well as work experience. This is talking about any jobs that you did that you didn't get paid for. That is what a volunteer is. This kind of work shows a company that you are willing to help people without any sort of payment. The payment for being a volunteer is nothing except you feel good about yourself afterwards. The last one is, others put certificates they have earned. Earning a certificate shows that you can do a certain skill very well and learn how to do that skill at a training center. Maybe you can get a computer skills certificate or complete an English speaking course. These show you completed some task over a long time to improve your abilities. The last part we will talk about is the key words. The first key word we will talk about is, of course, resume. A resume is a record of what you have done in your life in regards to education, employment, skills, interests, and awards. To get a job anywhere, you need a resume. Also, making a good resume can take a long time and a lot of work. So it is good to spend some time making and updating your resume so that it can impress future employers. The other word we will talk about is clubs. Now, this club is not a place where you go dancing on Friday or Saturday nights. This is a club where a group of people that enjoy the same type of activities. There are many types of clubs at your university, such as soccer, your same major, music, and more. Joining clubs looks good on resumes because it shows you get along with people well and are willing to do work to help the club succeed. Now, one of the big differences in resumes between the USA and Korea is that in the USA, you do not have to put a picture on your resume. They believe in the USA that this is not fair for some people since maybe there could be some discrimination against some other people. Also, in the USA, you should only put information that everyone should know, such as education, employment, skills, and awards. It isn't too important to put your hobbies or any personal information. If the information doesn't have to deal with the job you are applying for, then it doesn't have to be on the resume. Alright everyone, we just heard a dialogue. Now let's talk about it. This dialogue is about a man from one company calling another company about an order. He first has to talk to a secretary that has to direct his call to the right department. Usually, when a secretary has to direct a call, the company is probably very large. When he finally gets to the department he needs to be, the person that he needs to speak to is out of the office at the moment. This is very common when calling other businesses since everyone is busy. The right department has to make sure to take a message to call Mr. Parker back. First, let me explain the useful phone phrases to you. Let's start off with, how may I direct your call? When someone says this to you, it is most likely an operator or the first person at a company that will pick up the phone after you call. What they are asking is where they can send you or your call to. They will ask you and then send your call to the department you want to speak to. When someone says, please hold for a few moments, then it means that the person you are talking to wants you to stay on the phone and not hang up while they move your call to another department or person. When you are calling someone and you need to ask if they are at home or at work, you might say something similar to, is Mr. Smith available? But instead of Mr. Smith, you would just say the person you want to talk to. You can use this phrase when you call a business, someone's home, and more. When they said Mr. Smith was expecting your call, then this means that Mr. Smith knew that you would be calling him soon, but did not know the exact day or time. Finally, when they said, I'll wait for his call, then he means that he will be by his phone waiting for Mr. Smith to call him back. He won't go out anywhere, but he will stay in his office to make sure he is at his desk and his phone to answer when Mr. Smith calls. Now, let us go over the short phrases or key words. The first one we will start with is transfer my call. This means that they will move or shift your call to the appropriate place that you want it to be or to the right place if you don't know where you should be. The second one is a few moments. This is related to time. This means that a few moments can be a few seconds or even a few minutes, but not usually more than 3 minutes. The third one we will talk about is representing. This means that you or something else is the face of something else. When you represent something such as a school, business, or team, then you are the public face of that school, business, or team. For example, Ryo Hyunjin represents South Korea when he plays baseball. A big order is an order that is very large. Usually it is larger than any regular order you would order from a business. The last one, and perhaps the newest to you, is stepped out. This means that when you are in the office or somewhere you are supposed to be, but you unexpectedly had to leave for a short time, then this would be called stepped out. So, for example, if you're at home and you're expecting a friend to come over, but just before he or she comes over, you have to go to the store and get some snacks, then you stepped out to get some snacks. Now let's move on to some culture tips. Whenever you talk on the phone and you are representing your business and you are calling another business, it is always smart to be respectful to anyone you talk to on the phone, even the secretary. It can be seen as a bad way to represent your business if you are rude to anyone on the phone. If you are rude on the phone to someone, it could be bad news for you. That person could call your boss and complain. Who knows? Maybe you will get fired if you are rude to just one person or customer. Customer service is a big business all around the world these days, and people take many training courses on how to treat customers better. Having good and polite phone skills could be useful for your future career. Alright everyone, we just saw a dialogue. Now let's talk about it. This dialogue is a debate between two people about a controversial subject in Korea. Many people think it is unfair for men to only serve in the military while women don't have to do anything. The two people both strongly disagree on the one subject, women in the military, but agree that women should have to do some sort of service for their country. Having a debate like this can open up your mind to issues that you might not think about in your daily life. Now, let me explain some useful debate expressions. First, let's talk about I don't think women should have to serve in the military. In this expression, we hear the words I don't think. This means that the person does not agree with the opinion of the other person. They do not agree, and they know many reasons to support their belief. The next one we will talk about is, you may be right, but that isn't the point. This expression means that the person, in this case, the man, thinks that the other person, the woman, might be right in her opinion. But her opinion that women shouldn't serve in the military because of pregnancy is not what the man is talking about. The third one we will discuss is, well, that's not my only reason. This short statement tells us that they just gave one reason, but they have many or a few to share. The last one is very interesting, and it is, I do agree that women do more when it comes to taking care of children. This shows that the two people actually agree on something, which sometimes in a debate is very rare. Usually people in debate hardly ever agree with each other, but sometimes they do. Now let's talk about the key words and phrases. The first one will be the word sacrifice. This word means when you have to give up something in order to do something else. For example, maybe you have to sacrifice seeing your friends so that you can study to achieve a high score on a test. The next phrase is equal rights. This term is when two or more people have the same rights or benefits as each other. Everyone around the world wants equal rights for themselves when comparing to others in their countries. That is why this term is very important to know and can be debated as well. The next one is weightlifter. Now, a weightlifter, as we know, is someone who can pick up heavy objects or weights in a gym. But in this debate, they mean you do not have to be strong to serve in the military, since many people aren't big, but just well trained. The final one we will talk about is opinion. The word opinion is at the heart of this debate. It is what you think about a topic. Everyone has an opinion about everything in the world, and some people will agree with that and others will disagree. That is why we have debates, to discuss our opinions with people that disagree with them. Now let's move on. Let's talk about some culture tips. In English-speaking countries, it is very common to have debates when electing politicians. People want to know how that person will work if they are elected. Usually, at debates, politicians discuss very controversial issues affecting their countries or states. In order to get elected, the politicians have to share the same opinion with the majority of people that are voting. Sometimes people only vote based on politicians' views and opinions, not vote based on their political party. These debates between politicians and presidential candidates are very popular in the USA, and usually every television station shows the debate. By having the debates on every television station, this just shows how important these debates are to the United States citizens.